So here we have another native species that can become very invasive, very problematic in our forest. So a vine, we have grapevine, wonderful food source for birds, wildlife, but you know, as we know, it can attach to lots of things. If we have it growing in our yard, it can be troublesome in our garden. So how is it working on, you know, in this forest, on this tree? How is it in trouble?
Oh, it's a huge problem in the forest, because what it does is ultimately it climbs up to the top of the tree. It establishes itself over the crowns of other trees, and if you notice, the grapevine leaf is bigger than any other hardwood leaf. So what ultimately happens is this grapevine will actually shade out the tree, so it's not getting any sunlight. It can establish itself in the crown, and therefore add that additional weight, and you get wind and ice and rain or something like that, and the tree starts to break down just because of the weight of the grapevines. In harvesting of it, it's a dangerous situation, because a lot of times once the vines are at the top of the trees in the canopy, they'll spread from one tree to the next. So if we were going to cut this tree down, because the vines are tied into another tree, the second tree that's behind you could also fall and literally fall in the cutter. So it's a really problem in the forest, that it does kill the trees, it can deform the trees, and it's dangerous in harvesting. Now, the flip side of that, it is a great wildlife plant. So in areas that the trees are of poor quality and a lot of grapevines, as a forester, what we will recommend is a lot of times you do the reverse. Cut the trees and not the vines, and now you've got what we refer to as a live wildlife brush pile, where the vines are growing on the tops of the trees that are cut down, laying on the ground. The birds, it's easier to be able to get to the grapes because they're easier to get to, versus up in the canopy where predators, hawks or owls, could pick up the birds when they're feeding on the grapes.
And if someone had a property where this is an issue, I mean, they could just go in and simply cut. They don't even have to herbicide, just
Nope.
to help reduce that growth. And you could see, I mean, you know, it's wonderful to cut this for use around Christmas time, or just to make wreaths and use it in
a lot
that
of grapevine
capacity.
uses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive plant. And the vines, I've seen the vines get as big as 8 inches in diameter. But once you cut the stem any height, that's it. It'll regrow, but usually deer feed on the new growth of the grapevines, so it doesn't spread again.
So creating a natural food plot.
Very good, yes.